Apple's iPhone 17 launch was, well, quietly revolutionary in a way people didn't expect. While the tech media was obsessing over the flashy Pro and Air models, the standard iPhone 17 was quietly doing something extraordinary, selling like hotcakes. And I don't just mean doing fine, I mean causing Apple to ramp up production mid-season because demand was way higher than expected. Let's start with the numbers, because Apple doesn't just break records for fun. According to IDC, the company is now on track to ship over 247.4 million iPhones in 2025. That's a 6.1% increase compared to last year, and the driving force behind it is not the Pro Max with its ultra fancy camera or the ultra thin Air. No, the star here is the standard iPhone 17. Even more telling, in China, Apple's largest and notoriously competitive market, the iPhone 17 jumped to the top of the charts with over 20% market share in October and November. IDC had to revise Apple's Q4 growth forecast in China from 9% to 17%, essentially flipping a predicted decline into record-breaking growth. And the same pattern is repeating in the US and Western Europe. Globally, Apple's revenues forecast to exceed $261 billion this year, with the iPhone 17 at the center of that success story. And actually, the information had predicted this a few months back because, according to their sources, Apple had a very strong pre-order weekend and instructed suppliers to increase iPhone 17 production by at least 30%. That was back in September. Why? Because demand for the standard model was unexpectedly high. And that's a big deal because usually during pre-orders, Apple counts on the Pro Max and the Pro to drive revenue and margins. But this year, it was the affordable iPhone that was stealing the show. And honestly, after using the device, it makes sense. When the iPhone 17 was announced, I made a bold claim that you should skip the Pros, just go for the standard iPhone. On paper, it looks like one of the best value iPhones Apple's ever produced, and now after spending weeks with it, I can confirm that it is a no-brainer. While the tech world obsesses over the Air and Pro with their flashy new designs, the iPhone 17 strikes a perfect balance between price, performance, and features. It's one almost everyone should buy. Let's start with the design, because this is where things are pretty subtle but meaningful. The iPhone 17 keeps the aluminium frame, frosted glass, and even the vertical dual-lens camera bump from the iPhone 16, with the dynamic island up front housing the true depth camera and Face ID sensors. Rounded corners make it comfortable to hold, and the matte back resists fingerprints much better than the previous glossy design. The real change is in size. The screen has grown from 6.1 inches on the iPhone 16 to 6.3 inches on the 17, now matching the Pro. The phone is slightly taller, thicker and heavier, but the slimmer bezels balance it out. From the front, it genuinely looks like a Pro model. You get the perception of a premium device without paying the Pro price tag. And while I opted for black because it's neutral and because I'm kind of boring, the colours this year are actually pretty nice. Not as great as the bright iPhone 16 colours, but still very good for the standard model. By the way, if you're enjoying this review and want to see more deep dives like this, hit that subscribe button and tap the hype button. It really helps a small channel like mine reach more Apple fans and keeps you updated on the latest leaks, reviews, and news. Display-wise, the iPhone 17 is now a serious contender against the Pro. For the first time, the base model gets Pro Motion with an adaptive refresh rate up to 120Hz, alongside an always-on display. Smooth scrolling, fluid animations, and responsive gestures make everyday usage feel significantly more premium. The always-on display is handy for glancing at notifications, widgets, or live activities without unlocking the phone, although it will eat into battery life, which I'll get to. Peak brightness hits 3000 nits outdoors, up from 2000 nits on the 16, while typical brightness remains at 1000 nits and HDR peaks at 1600 nits. Durability is also improved with Ceramic Shield 2, which Apple claims is 3 times more scratch resistant than before. I haven't deliberately scratched my phone with keys, I don't recommend that, but it's reassuring to know the device should handle everyday wear and tear much better than previous devices. For anyone keeping their phone for 3 or 4 years, that's a big deal. And then there's the camera. Upgrades are subtle but important. The rear dual lens system consists of a 48MP Fusion wide lens and a 48MP ultra wide lens. The Fusion lens supports a 2x optical quality crop, giving you 0.5x, 1x and 2x zoom options without the softness of digital zoom. The ultra wide lens is better for macro shots and low light performance, making it far more versatile for everyday photography. The front camera jumps to 18MP, still square, with center stage support and improved stabilization. Great for selfies, video calls, or reaction style content. Dual capture allows simultaneous 4K Dolby Vision recording from the front and back, which is a blessing for content creators, though I personally wish I could switch which camera appears in the little cutout, but that's a minor quibble. Apple also retained the action button and camera control from the iPhone 16. The action button replaces the mute switch and can be customized to launch apps, shortcuts, or even start a voice memo. Camera control is a small capacitive pad that lets you just focus or zoom with a swipe, though to be honest, I never found camera control useful beyond just opening the camera application, but hey, it frees up the action button for something else. Under the hood, the iPhone 17 packs the A19 chipset, built on Apple's 3rd generation 3nm process, 6-core CPU, 5-core GPU, 16-core neural engine, a lot of big numbers, but essentially it means this phone is fast. Apple Intelligence is present, though still a little half-baked. For example, adaptive power modes seems to not work. It hasn't really learnt my usage, and if anything, turning off gives me better battery life, and I've seen others report that as well. Everyday activities though are snappy, heavy apps run smoothly, and multitasking is effortless thanks to 8GB of RAM. iOS 26 brings more animations and occasional bugs, but 26.1 has been a lot more stable, and ultimately the A19 keeps everything rock solid. Battery life is solid as well. Apple rates the iPhone 17 for up to 30 hours of video playback, 6 hours longer than the 16, with streaming up to 27 hours. In my experience though, it's not that big of an upgrade. I've been consistently getting 8 hours of screen on time, which is excellent for mixed usage, but still not that big of an upgrade over the iPhone 16. Fast charging has now gotten better, with it charging up to 50% in just 20 minutes with a 40-watt adapter, or 30 minutes with MagSafe. Overall endurance is very good. You will easily get through a full day of usage without breaking a sweat. Connectivity has been upgraded as well. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, Apple's N1 networking chipset, Qualcomm's new 5G modem, Thread support, satellite messaging and SOS, and 2nd generation ultra-wideband for precise AirTag tracking. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth has been flawless, and honestly most won't notice the USB 2 speeds, and having USB-C on this device in the first place is pretty great. Speakers and microphones are excellent as always. Price-wise, this is a winner. $799 for 256 gigs of storage, ProMotion, always on display, excellent cameras, long battery life, and it's Apple Intelligence ready whenever that rolls out in full. And so yes, at retail price, this is an incredible deal. Historically, the standard iPhone has been the default choice for most buyers, and the 17 continues that trend with even stronger momentum. So here's the iPhone 17 for. Well, practically everyone. About 95% of users will find this more than sufficient. Older iPhone users, those upgrading from a 12, 13 or 14, even their Pro counterparts, will find a fresh experience with a slightly larger display, 120Hz, and improved front camera. Even iPhone 16 users may consider upgrading for those incremental but meaningful changes. You won't get the Air's ultra-slim design or the Pro's telephoto lens, but for the vast majority, this is the iPhone to buy. Apple's finally made the base model feel complete. No compromises, no, oh I wish it had this feature. It's all here. And let's be honest, there's something satisfying about a phone that succeeds because it's genuinely good, not because of hype or hype pricing. So the iPhone 16 hits that sweet spot. Premium enough to feel like an upgrade, feature rich enough to compete with more expensive models, and price low enough that you don't feel like Apple's laughing all the way to the bank at your expense. So will you join the millions already making the switch, or will you wait for the next model? Let me know in the comments, and if you found this review helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the hype button. I'll be back with more Apple coverage, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.